existence is an enterprise, and it has to be so. How else would we be able to support ourselves? And why are we so propelled to move towards what's abundant? To have things, and to consume things, and to do things with things? And why is it that we want to create and form our own views of the world, our ways of interacting with the world, and then share those unique ways that are original to us, our minds and conscience, that provide us with positive emotion and which fill us up with good feelings and affects, but also thoughts of what's pleasant and worthwhile? And when that's not the case and we're not experiencing those, why is it that we have a tendency to go towards these sense of why is things so meaningless, or why are any pursuits worthy of my time or energy, and why should I do anything? Or sometimes if we're encountering a negative emotion such as anger, we can feel frustrated, and this can propel us in one of two directions, genuinely and ultimately. And that could be one that's regressive or one that's progressive, and which is forward looking and moves forward and towards bettering the self and the conditions and situations that one finds themselves in. That might be resolving problems, or not even addressing the problem and disconnecting from it, because sometimes we can't do anything about that problem, or we don't know what to do about the problem, and the best thing to do is literally do nothing, or just wait, or wait until we have good enough information, sufficient enough information, and one that's defined by good enough to the individual and good enough to what constitutes psychological functioning, without wandering into something in which could be, well, ultimately catastrophic to that individual and pose a greater set of psychological distressors and emotionally hamper their functioning to the point where they can't function properly or effectively psychologically, and even process the necessity in terms of what is necessary to maintain what the body needs and the mind needs and the soul needs in terms of what's meaningful and purposeful to an individual. And we can't function without this sense of meaningfulness, worthwhileness, or purposefulness that is intrinsic to enterprising. Because otherwise, why else would you be doing anything that's innovative and laborious and difficult to do, requiring these energy expenditures and costs on the body, costs on the mind, in terms of literal physical feelings and sensations and structures of our being that compose us and constitute the operating of every single activity, as well as the consumption, obviously, of energy and the proteins and chemicals that go into that through our respirations, sweating, and the directionality of where we orient our perceptions and behaviors that removes a set of other possibilities and earnings through engaging in those possibilities for a particular direction and set of attainments that are associated with moving in a particular chorus of our own individuations of conscience and choices that we make as individuals through our conscience and through our consideration of what's true, what's known, and what's meaningful to us as individuals, that through doing allows us to engage in meaningful work that's defined by the self through the self, and which produces the fruits and labors of such affordances that allow us to enjoy the goods and necessities and various materials and substances of our existence that ultimately makes life worthwhile, and which tends to add a sense of soulfulness to our existence that is innate and is already there, but can become more vibrant and invigorated through enhancing the meaningfulness and purposefulness in life as we engage in our interests and engage meaningfully in our interests and engage with our emotions that are sources of meaning and purpose, as well as sources of metabolisms that require us to enterprise. And that's primarily how we go about interacting, interfacing with the world, because existence is an enterprise unto itself, and an existential enterprise that's directed by us. And that's a natural thing that's occurring. It's not something that we just manufacture. Enterprising is the process in which we constitute these ideas of manufacturing or innovation. It's the generation of abundance and synthesized natural products from raw materials into refined.